regardless. Just a couple of housekeeping items. We'll record this call. We'll share it with a large group of folks that couldn't make it today, and we'll also post this online for folks to watch on our YouTube channel. So with that, we'll get started, and I'll do a couple introductions here. Just want to welcome everyone and thank them for sharing your lunch hour with us. We're grateful for that. My name is Matt Dwyer. I serve as Executive Director of Development here at HolyGhostPrep, and I'm joined by Dana Samuel. You'll see Dana on the call as well. Dana will be tracking some of our any questions that come up or any other issues or items with the slides. Dana's here to help out with, and she's also available after the call to help answer questions regarding the program. We're also joined by our board chair, Marty Connor. Marty is a member of the class of '82, and Marty's the chair of our HolyGhostPrep Board of Trustees. He's also serves on the board of Blocks. Blocks is an organization that I'll explain about in this in our slide deck. And Marty was gracious enough to step in today for a couple of minutes just to share his insight into the program and his endorsement. And then we're also joined by Chris Taylor. Chris is a alumni parent. His two sons graduated in the classes of 17 and 19. Chris is on our development committee, and he's specifically focused on EITC promotion and doing outreach for the program for HolyGhostPrep. So those are the folks that are with us today. We also have RSVPs from our group is essentially some current parents, a few alumni, and a few alumni parents as well. But we also had a great turnout from alumni from our current parent group. Here's our agenda for today. So we'll talk a little bit about the scholarship dollars, big picture scholarship dollars for HolyGhostPrep, the program itself, EITC, OSTC. We'll talk about eligibility, talk about some next steps for participating in the program, and then lastly, we'll have some time for Q&A. So I'll start here with our merit and need-based scholarship. So when you see these four letters.
I apologize. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to give my little endorsement.
Sorry, Mark.
First of all, I appreciate you for calling me gracious. That doesn't happen very often, so I'm going to write that one down. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
My day job is CFO of Toll Brothers. My sidelights are Board of Trustees Chair at Holy Ghost and on the Business Leaders Organized for Catholic School. And I just wanted to jump in here and tell you the biggest challenge with this program is it sounds too good to be true, and skeptics have a tough time digesting that there is a quasi-school voucher program in the state of Pennsylvania, and that's how this thing works. And so I'm a big proponent of it. It has a budgeted dollars nearing $150 million that Blocks is able to take advantage of. And I think as you get through the end of this, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Matt can share my contact information with you. I've been doing it 5 or 6 years. I wish I had heard about it sooner than that. Essentially 90% of my tax dollars that I owe to Pennsylvania end up at Holy Ghost, and some go to Egan because that's where my wife went. But and it only costs me 6%. Because I get a 90% credit off my state taxes, and then I get the other 10% is a federal deductible charitable donation, and so 30 or 40% of that comes back to me through less federal taxes. So feels pretty good to me when I can write a check and know that I'm almost getting a 20-to-1 subsidy from the Pennsylvania state taxes. It's going to be around a while. Shapiro, our governor, is a big proponent of it. He's boosted the funding of it here in his first budget. And the Blocks group has done a great job of structuring things so that you can take advantage of it and not worry about it going away or a problem so far with anybody's second-year commitment. So Matt will get into the specifics, but I think the program's great. It's important for all the private schools and the parochial schools. in the area. And I think the more it's used, the tougher it will be for the state to get rid of it. Because if these kids aren't subsidized, if they're subsidized this year and they're not subsidized next year, the public schools have an enrollment overwhelm. So, all right. So that's all I got time for today. I apologize. I couldn't stay on more. I've been through a number of these. It's the biggest issue is your skepticism, saying this can't be right, but it is right. Okay. So keep an open mind. Thanks.
Thanks, Marty. We appreciate that, and we'll dig into the details here. And Marty gives a great testimony. He's been a part of this for a while, and we have a pretty significant, over about 55 folks that are participating in the program that have also been a part of it for several years. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but just big picture, merit and need-based scholarships. So about 30%, it's growing, but over 30% of our annual budget here at Holy Ghost Prep goes towards financial aid, whether it's merit-based or need-based. For us, that's about $3.5 to $3.4 plus million each year. That does a couple of things. One, it improves our accessibility. It supports the diversity of the school to recruit families from all of the geographic, the socioeconomic, the ethnic backgrounds that we have of our school that make up our school. And improves that and helps that. And then over 60% of our student body receives some type of merit and need-based scholarship. So the breadth of number of students that we support each year is great. And why is this important? Well, it's part of our Spiritan charism. We are a Spiritan Catholic school, and we want to continue to make sure that Holy Ghost Prep is not a school or just a school for the elite or for folks that can pay for full tuition, but for everyone that would like to come to Holy Ghost Prep, that's a good fit, and they feel like school's a good fit for them, and vice versa. So how do we fund merit and need-based scholarships? Well, we do that a couple of ways through the Holy Ghost Fund, annual fund, which takes place each year. We have folks that have created their own named scholarship. So those are what we call special or major gifts that have done those, but they don't always have to be major or significant. Sometimes the smaller amounts, we can create those as well. We also fund those merit and need-based scholarships through our endowments. Our endowment right now balance is about $5 million, and that's growing each year. But each year, that revenue and income also helps support financial aid. And then finally, through this program is how we fund these merit and need-based scholarships. And for us, EITC, OSTC is contributing this year. It'll be just over $1.1 million of that 3.4. So you can see the significant role that the program plays. You've already heard me talk about a couple of terms, EITC and OSTC. So EITC, the Educational Improvement Tax Credit, OSTC, the Opportunity Scholarship Tax Credit. The distinction between the two is the top one is exclusively financial based. So household income, if your household income falls below $90,000 a year, you qualify, or students qualify for EITC. The same criteria for OSTC, that household income criteria. But in addition to that, you would also need to live in an underperforming school district. Those underperforming school districts are they're outlined by the state each year. So that's another way that the program is helping those students as well. Just talked about the purpose. So that's the purpose of both of the programs, financial, and then also where you live, the boundaries, your school district boundaries. The history of the program. So EITC is over 20 years old. It was originally created for businesses. Now there's been an individual side of it that we've been promoting the last couple of years. I'll talk about that in a minute. But the budget then was a $30 million budget in 2001. And as of this year for 2023, we're looking at over $450 million the state is budgeting for this program. So it's quite significant. As I mentioned before, originally this was established for businesses, but then in 2016, the introduction of this individual program. So essentially anyone who's a resident of PA could sign up to join the program. And this is done via an LLC agreement or an LLC option, that an individual can join an LLC and then they can participate through the LLC program, of which for us, Blocks, the organization Blocks administers for us. This change in 2016 was a complete windfall for us, for other schools. It was a real game changer for the program because it now allows donors to forego or to skip that business application. So you essentially had to be the owner of a business to apply. Now you don't, and you can go directly through Blocks to do that, which has been a real advantage for us. I always share this too because we're throwing around a lot of big numbers here. 450 million. It started at 30 million, so those are pretty significant amounts. But when you look at the overall state budget, for example, that $450 million is not even 1% of the overall state budget, which is over $45 billion. So these are 2022 numbers, so just keep that in mind. And it still only represents about 5% of the education budget for the state. So gives you some perspective about how large of a budget that the PA, that our state of Pennsylvania has, but also that, this program is still just a small percentage of that. We'd love it to grow, but it's still a very significant part of what we do. So how it works for an individual, some of the mechanics behind that. You've heard this organization Blocks referred to. So you can see there, Blocks stands for Business Leaders of Catholic Schools, BLOCS. This is an organization that's been around for well over 40 years. They support Catholic schools through fundraising, through events, through their philanthropic dollars and their major donors. And now the last couple of years, since 2016, when this individual program was established, they've really lasered in and focused in on this EITC program to get the bulk of the dollars that they're giving to Catholic schools each year. And they help administer our program for all of our donors. So they set aside a certain amount of dollars that they have access to go directly to HolyGhostPrep. But that has to be done through our donors signing up for the program. So talk a little bit more about that. The steps to do that: an individual would join a special purpose entity, or what we refer to as an LLC. It's a membership agreement that's sent to the donor through DocuSign. So it's an electronic agreement. You can sign that electronically. And after that, once you sign up, you would list three things. First, you would list your name. You would list the amount of your commitment, the dollar amount that you'd like to commit to. And then third, you would list the school that you would like to get credit for that commitment. So those are really, it's a really simple agreement to sign. Then you would sign that. You would then send in your check for that specific amount. So that some of the details are listed there. We then receive a check from Blocks. We use those dollars for the specific scholarship criteria that I outlined before. Those are scholarship dollars for us. And the benefits for both the individual and the business side of it, but both programs allow individuals and businesses to receive up to a 90% tax credit against your PA tax liability. So this is a straight tax credit. This is not a charitable deduction. So you're not deduction or reducing your income. You are getting a straight tax credit through this program. For 2-year commitments, that would mean a 90% credit. And for a 1-year commitment, that would be a 75% tax credit. So that's a very clear distinction about this program. Sometimes folks think, well, it's a donation, so I just deduct that revenue from my taxes. No, this is an actual tax credit that you would receive 90% of whatever that amount is. It's still available for businesses as well. The process for businesses, though, is you would have to go to the state website, enter your application into that website, and then you're essentially put into a lottery program where they pick in July over the summer every year. They pick through a lottery system the businesses they will accept and the amounts that they've applied for. So we do have a few businesses. We have about 10 or 12 each year, depending on the year, that support us as a business. But the majority we have anywhere from 55 to 60 participants each year that are doing this on the individual side. So you can see the different ways to do that in the numbers for those too. So Here's our first gift illustration, and then I'll pause after this just to hear some questions, and then I'd also welcome comments as well. If Chris, you'd like to comment on anything as well, or to help me answer questions. But this is our first gift illustration. I like to use round numbers just to make it simple for folks to understand and more simple for me to explain it. But for example, if someone thinks about a commitment to donate $10,000, they have a $10,000 tax liability through the individual side of the program, you would receive a $9,000 tax credit, 90% of a tax credit towards that $10,000 bill that you have to the state of Pennsylvania. So your out-of-pocket cost essentially would be about $1,000 starting from that point. So you would still owe the state an additional $1,000. However, that $1,000 that you gave, that you were out of pocket, would be considered a charitable gift or a charitable donation. You would then receive that charitable deduction on that amount. And for example, if you're in the 35% tax bracket, that's $350. So then your out-of-pocket cost is reduced down to $650. So I think Marty even mentioned that scenario before. So the $650 out-of-pocket cost from a donor of HolyGhostPrep equates to a $10,000 scholarship impact for students at HolyGhostPrep. So that's a more than a 10 times multiplier, which is a real win-win both for the donor as well as us here at the school. The second illustration is one for a $5,000 commitment. So generally, Blocks likes to accept commitments of anywhere from $5,000 and above. We've done some for less. I've had folks come in at the $4,000 or even in some cases the $3,000 level. So something to think about, but usually that $5,000 or above benchmark is something that we aim for. The process is listed again right there. Joining a Blocks LLC, designating HolyGhostPrep. Then in February, probably closer to March, Blocks will send you a K-1 form. This is similar to a 1099 form. So you will actually use that K-1 form to pay or to file your taxes for the tax year 2023. We're still in 2023 right now. So you would use that K-1 form to pay your taxes. So it would essentially represent, again, in that that second scenario, $5,000, for example, that K-1 form would represent your $5,000 because you've already submitted that check. You then get your 90% credit. And the rest, as I mentioned too, would also be a charitable deduction. So I'll just mention this slide as well. So again, we mentioned eligibility. Any business or individual that has a tax liability or pays taxes in the state of Pennsylvania is eligible to participate in the program. Blocks requires a $4,000 minimum donation. Again, we aim for $5,000. They've done a little bit less, but that's what we promote to our donors at HolyGhostPrep. If you have an option or you'd like to participate at less than that, then of course we can talk about that. So I'll pause there and just get your thoughts and questions. I know that's kind of a lot. I keep saying it's simple and easy, but I also know that there's several layers to it, and there's a few wrinkles that I'd love to share with everyone as well. Looks like, is Chris still on the call? Maybe Chris hopped off.
We just lost him a second ago. We'll see if he hops back on in a minute.
Okay. So other questions? Anyone on the call that would like to has anything or anything that stood out? Oh, there's Chris. And we'll also share, our emails and phone contacts as well. And myself, Marty, Dana, Chris we're all available to take calls and to hear any questions that folks might have. So, anything you wanted to mention, Chris? You've been a part of this for a while, and any?
I have. So this is my third cycle. So I do the two-year plan, for lack of a better term. But so I just re-upped again. It is exactly as Marty said. It's pretty simple to do. My tax guy is in New Jersey, and it took him about he said somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes between my explanation and him going to the website to figure out what to do. So it's not sophisticated, it's not complicated. It's really, he said he was really surprised how simple it was. And they don't have that any program like that in New Jersey, right? So it was totally foreign to them. Boom, picked it up real quickly. So it is simple. You write the check in September, October timeframe. You get it back as Matt, I think, has pointed out. And, when shortly after you file your taxes and the tax deadline. If you're self-employed like I am, then I have a lower amount I send in every quarter for my estimated. So I'm not even out of pocket at all, which is actually really, really nice. But either way, if you are employed by someone else, once you get on that cycle, you're getting the first year refund right about the time that it's due again. So then it's always rolling after that. You're out of pocket for a little bit, but other than that, again, it's really too good to be. It's not too good to be true, but it seems like it is. So
Great, thank you.
And the guys, if you have any questions, those guys at Blocks, when you call them, they make it crystal clear too, and they're extremely helpful, and they're always available for any questions you have. Right, Matt?
Yes, absolutely. Our rep there is a gentleman by the name of Jeff Gibson.
Yeah.
And I've been working with Jeff for, gosh, it's been over 7 years now. And they're pretty prompt in responding to questions. They also send their agreements. Usually when someone says yes, they'd like to enter into the program, which is the next slide here. So, the next step would be I connect our donors with Jeff at Blocks. Jeff then sends you over the agreement. It's a DocuSign agreement. And again, you fill out your name, the amount you'd like to commit to in the school you'd like to support. So, but yeah, the folks at Blocks have been really helpful. They do charge us a small administrative fee. So for that first cycle, that 2-year contract, they would keep a 5% administrative fee for administering the program. But then after that, our donors are free of that. So we get 100% of the dollars after that first 2-year cycle, which is a real benefit for us. If we were to take on the administration of the program and tracking the dollars and sending the 401ks out and setting the DocuSign agreements out, that would be administratively, that would be a pretty significant lift for us. So right now, this agreement, it works really well. It's really good. We view it as a really big cost savings for us. But I talked about the next step. So I always say a great place to start is looking at your last year's tax return and seeing what your liability was, what you owed the state of PA for last year. That's a good jumping off point. Some folks say, great, I can do that much because I've made more this year. I'm planning to make more, and that's fine too. Or some folks say, well, let me start at a lower level because I'm not sure if I'll make that same amount next year. So you might go 70 or 80 or 90% of what you made the previous year in terms of what you owed the state of PA. So, but again, it's all up to you. It's all up to our donors to decide that. And then you would email me a request, and I would simply connect you, as I mentioned, with Jeff at Blocks. They would send you the DocuSign agreement. And then now, as we're approaching the end of the year, they would encourage you to send in your check within the next, within 5 to 7 days after you've signed your agreement. So once you send in your check, then you are officially a part of the LLC. Here's our contact information. I'll share Chris's as well, and Stan Gondek. Stan's also one of our development members who's on there, and we'll share everyone's info as well. Good deal. Any other questions of folks we have on the call? Happy to take those now. I know one of the questions we had on our last call was regarding refunds. So, for example, as you could imagine, a lot of folks have potentially already paid their Pennsylvania state taxes. So, if you're for me, for example, those are withdrawn every paycheck. So those deductions are taken out. Like Chris said, if you own your own business and you're self-employed, you may already have been paying your quarterly estimates. So you might think, wow, Matt, I've already paid my Pennsylvania taxes. How does this program affect me? Well, what you would do in that instance, you'd sign up for the program. Again, you'd get your K-1 form. When you file for 2023, you would actually ask for a refund of the amount that you've already paid. So the cash that you've already paid towards your PA tax liability, you would ask for a refund for that amount, and you would then use your K-1 form to pay your taxes. So you're essentially saying, oh, hold on, give me those dollars back. I want to use this K-1 form to pay my taxes this year. They accept, the state of PA will accept that refund. They will accept that process. There is a slight delay. We've seen folks in terms of getting that refund back take anywhere from up to 5 or even 6 months. The state is notoriously slow for doing that. You kind of get put into a different category when you file your taxes under this initial program if you're asking for the refund, simply because it's just a new wrinkle. It's not an audit. You don't get put in the audit category. It's just it's kind of a special side category that you put in that they want to evaluate your tax, this refund for this amount. So that said, we have a direct line to there's a woman that we have contact with in the revenue department for the state of PA. Her name's Michelle. I have her cell phone number, not her cell phone, her direct line. I have her email address. So we've sent folks to Michelle. Usually when they call, she can look up their refund, and typically she says, okay, I'm on it. I've got this one. We're pushing it forward. But that's the one hardship is that refund, and in that initial year out of pocket amount for some folks could take 4 or 5 or 6 months to get back. So that's the one, probably the one hurdle or hiccup I would say about the entire program is that first year, your refund takes a while. And for some folks, that's fine, no big deal. And other folks say, well, let's try to get that back as soon as we can. And we work with you on that. Great. If there's no other questions, anybody has anything, happy to answer it now. If not, we're going to send this slide deck out to everyone who RSVP'd. Again, we had about 15 folks that RSVP'd. So I want to get this in their hands, and we'll get this recording in their hands as well. We'll post this on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and everybody can watch it. And we look forward to talking to you more about the program and hopefully signing up between now and December 31st. But maybe before Christmas would be nice. We're going to push all our folks to get in the door before Christmas if they can. Anything else? Anything I'm leaving out, Dana or Chris? Does that sound good?
No, I think we're good. I'd add that there's a lot of good resources online. The state website, the PA Department of Community and Economic Development, their website has a wealth of information. The Blocks website is great, and our website kind of outlines everything that you've seen in the slide deck and has links to all of those other sites as well. Great.
It's a great idea. Lots of resources out there, and we're also a resource, and we can help you along through the process. All right, thank you, folks. Well, we'll be in touch. Thanks again for your interest in the program and interest in Holy Ghost Prep. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Matt.